Good afternoon, class. I said that I was going to do a video for 3.2 mating parts, so we're going to jump right into it. First, you're going to select exercise mating parts, and it's going to bring you right to OnShape. It'll bring you to this window here, okay? So, remember, you see the window, this is mating parts. You've watched the first mating parts 1 video. You've watched the different mate types video, and now you're going to be using going and doing the exercise mating parts. Okay. Now I'm going to follow along with these next pages, these next steps, and it's going to walk me through how to create this assembly. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select exercise clamp. It's going to bring me into a exercise clamp, and I'm going to create a copy. Okay, that's the first thing it asks me to do. Make a copy. There's a blue button right here that you can see. You're going to click that button and they make a copy. Just like all our assignments, you're going to name that assignment first and last name. Okay, exercise clamp, first and last name. Click OK. This is actually going to create a new window, a new tab where the assembly is. Okay. Now, it's actually suggested that you want to split these two tabs into two sides of the screen. So if I click this gray area here, and I'm able to drag it to the side of my screen, it'll snap to the side, and then I can select the instructions. Now, this may be in the way, so you're going to have to click hide. Once I click hide, boom, I have my instructions on one side, I have my working space and my graphics area on the other side. Great. I'm going to go to my next directions here. It's going to ask me to right-click the assembly right here, and it's going to ask me to rename it. It's going to ask me to rename that as clamp assembly. Okay, clamp assembly. I'm going to zoom out here so you guys can see this better. Clamp assembly. Okay, so I'm going to right click this tab. I'm going to rename it clamp assembly. Few steps down. I'm going to go to my next slide. While I'm here in my clamp assembly, you do want to make sure that you're clicked there in your clamp assembly. It should look like this. Okay, this assembly is empty because we haven't populated it yet. How we do that is we click insert, and we're going to click clamp parts. If you click clamp parts, you're going to click check mark. Now I have my clamp part brought into my assembly. Good. So our next step here is we're going to select the front face of this gray bar here. We'll get these arrows, and then we're going to right click that circle, and we're going to move it to the origin. And it slides it right over to the origin. Next, we're going to right click, and we're going to fix that bar. We're going to fix that bar where it's at. Now, while we're in this assembly, these parts are able to move. However, this part here, now you see a big red mark through it, does not move. It is fixed. It is not moving anywhere. Constraints are really just adding in more dimensions, more restrictions on a part so that it's not moving. Good. I'm going to go to the next slide. Now, what we're going to do here is, I'm going to select Isometric. Anytime I get confused, I want more space, I can always select Isometric. We're actually going to move this piece, and we're going to Isometric. We're going to insert this piece here and add a constraint. Okay. Now, what I don't want you guys to do is to think that you can move this into place. No, we're going to add a constraint. It'll be much easier that way. What constraint we're using is the fasten constraint. The fasten constraint. Now, over here, once you click this drop-down window, are all your constraints. Watching the video, we know this. Yes, make sure you guys watch the video. These are all the constraints. We're going to select fasten constraint, okay? And what we want to do is we want to select inside here, and we want to select that gray bar. How we can do that is we can select the right view, and we can always zoom in and select the inside of that piece, that upright piece, okay? I can go back to isometric, and I actually want to go to the left view now. I can always use these arrows to help me out. Go to the left view. I'm going to select this face of the gray piece. Boom. And it snaps right into place. As soon as I select both of those, and I click check mark, I'll be able to go into my isometric view and I can see the piece. Now this piece is still able to be moved, but this piece, as well as the upright piece, now are constrained. They're fully constrained, okay? So they're not moving. Perfect. Moving on to slide 6. Now here, we're going to actually add a sliding clamp. It looks like a little cylinder with an arrow, okay? I'm going to select the drop-down menu here. I'm going to select the sliding mate, okay? Now, I'm going to select right in between this gap here, right in between that gap there, and I'm going to select the tip of this gray piece. And we do it the same way. I can select the right view. I can select inside that gap. You see it's right there. If I need to zoom in, I can zoom in. I'm going to select inside that gap. Good. And I'm going to select on top, that face right there of that gray piece. Once I select it, boom, snaps right into place. Now I'm not quite done yet. So from here, it wants me to add a limit and an offset. Admittedly, they made an error in the actual directions. I know people make mistakes too. Sometimes the curriculum makes mistakes. So I'm going to give you the correct dimensions, okay? Once again, the dimensions given here are incorrect. So I'm going to give you the correct dimensions, okay? So the minimum is actually going to be negative 7.5, okay? And the maximum, with no maximum, is going to be 0, okay? Now, if you look over here, they give you 0 and 7.5. If we were to do that, it wouldn't make sense. It would slide off of the rail. So with that, I want to make sure I give you the correct dimensions of negative 7.5 and 0. And we're going to go ahead and press the check mark. And I'll show you what we've just done. In the isometric view, this gray piece isn't moving. This upright piece isn't moving. But with the slider made, we're able to slide this piece all the way close. And you see that even though we have the restrictions, it won't go all the way to that piece. So now we have a piece that slides and recreates a realistic mechanical piece. Pretty neat. Let's slide that all the way back. Let's go back into isometric view. We're moving along at a good pace here, okay? So we're going to go to our next slide here at 7. Now we're going to pull this piece right here on top. This is actually 3 pieces in one. It's going to pull in as one piece. However, we need to go back and add constraints to that piece, okay? So we're going to go to Insert. You see it goes to Insert. And we're going to select the handle parts. The handle parts. You see it comes in. Now, if you see that this is here to the side, you can move your mouse. You see where my mouse is here. I haven't clicked anything yet. I can pull it up and I can place it right here, okay? I'll show you that one more time. I'm going to click Insert. I'm going to click Handle Parts. Instead of leaving the yellow right where this is, I'm going to move my mouse over. I'm going to click a little above it so I give myself some room. I'm going to click check mark. Now I'm into the space. What can I click? Isometric to give me some more space, okay? Good. Moving on to step 8. Now here, you'll see that there's actually 1, 2, 3 pieces, okay? I'm going to have to play around with this and move some parts to add some constraints, okay? So the first step is we're going to add a fasten constraint between the face of this blue piece and the inner part of this orange piece. Remember, there's no constraints, so I can move this right out the way, and I can move this down some. Parts are going to flow in between each other. That's perfectly fine. We're going to just continue moving these parts just so that we can add a constraint, okay? What I don't want you guys to do is to think that you can just move this here and leave it. It's not going to work. you're going to have to add a constraint or else the parts are just going to fall apart. Okay, so we're going to go back to our fastened made, excuse me. I'm going to select the face of this blue piece, right? Boom. And then I'm going to actually select, move this around here, the inside of this orange piece. I'm not able to see that, so I'm going to have to play around with my views. Let me go to my left view. Boom, and I can see the inside here. I'm going to select here. The piece snaps right there, and I can select the check mark. Let's go back to my isometric view. Again, excuse me for sniffling. My allergies are still getting to me. And now I can see that these two pieces are actually one now. Simple enough. Go to my next slide. Now we're going to connect this bottom silver piece and this blue piece. It's going to be a little tricky, but it's nothing that we can't do, okay? Now with this, we're actually going to use the ball restriction, the ball constriction, okay? Now, remember, we can always select the drop-down arrow. We're going to go to the ball mate. We're going to select the ball mate. Now, we're going to select the inside of the silver piece and the tip of the blue piece, okay? So let's zoom in here. We're going to select inside of this piece. Now, you see this blue piece sitting up. We don't want that. We want the red piece to sit up, or we want it to be sitting out in this way. So we can always select our right piece, and we can select inside that piece right here. If we need to zoom in, we can zoom in right there. Then we're going to select right inside that ball piece. Now, it looks like this face is highlighted, but let's see if it was able to select the right one. Okay, I'm going to go back to my isometric view. I'm going to select a better view so I can get to that blue piece. Still can't really see it, so I'm going to have to select my left view right here. This is the piece I want right here. I can zoom in, and I'm going to select that tip of that blue piece. You see that it snapped right together. Let's click the check mark and see if that came out correctly. And it did. I can select this piece, or the blue piece, or the orange piece, and now this is one solid piece, okay? Now, don't be upset if you guys don't get it the first time. I didn't even get it my first time. Sometimes this does select the wrong face. If anything, I can always go back and edit it. Matter of fact, if I had an issue here, I can go back to the ball piece. I could double click it, and I'm back into the mate itself. I can always change the mates. I can delete it, and I can try again. If I was to delete this, click and delete. Now, I have a piece. Oh, excuse me. I didn't delete it. I just closed it. If I was to right click this, I could delete that mate itself. Deleting that mate would then separate these two. Even though it saw that they looked together, the mate wasn't there. So let's add that mate back real quickly. Then we'll be able to move back on to the next step. See, and like I said, sometimes it doesn't want to cooperate, but we're going to get it right now. Let's move over to the left view. Let's select that view. Oh, and you know what? Even there, I think that nope, it's not correct, right? So we're going to close it. I'm going to try it one more time, okay? Go to the right view. Select that view. Select the left view. Go into the left. Boom. Now, understand, I made a mistake. The mate didn't work that second time I did it, so I had to do it a third time. Even then, I was able to delete it. Now it's all together. You're gonna make some mistakes, guys, and that's understandable. But with that, you can try again and work through it, and you're gonna get more comfortable with it. It's not an instance of you're not smart enough to get it. It's not an instance of you're not talented enough to get it. You just need some more practice. That's all. Good. Now we're on step 10. I go to step 10. I'm going to select a cylindrical mate. Cylindrical mate. Okay. I'm going to select the drop down menu. Excuse me. I'm going to select the cylindrical meat,